Hello once again. Welcome to Zephyr's BI and Analytics. This is actually a continuation video to our North America Retail Sales Optimization Dashboard. The part 1 of the video covered the delivery and the return rate, which is the page I have on my screen now. This video, we're going to cover the profitability and the efficiency. So this report is going to be about the profitability and the efficiency. So quickly, let's navigate to our report. This is our report. We're going to make a few changes before we continue. I'm just going to come to this title we have here. I'm going to underline this. Then I'm going to come to our product delivery speed table. I'm going to come to the style presets. I'll change it from minimal to bold header. Great. The next thing I'm going to do is grab the color, our color code. I'll grab the color code 1D617A. Now I'll go to the table. I'll go to the column headers. I'll change the background color to our color code. That's fine. Next, I'll go to the row headers. I'll also change the background color to our color code. Great. Then finally, I'm going to come to the grid here. I'll navigate to the borders. I'll check and uncheck the border. I'll change the color to our color code also. That's just a few changes I wanted to make to the first report, which is this page now. So I'm going to quickly save this. Once I'm done, so next I'm going to make a duplicate of this table. I'll just right click this, click on duplicate. I'll rename this to profitability and efficiency, or efficiency and profitability. Great. Once I'm done renaming, I'll remove these visuals. I'll also remove these. I'll remove this. I'm going to leave one of these visuals here. We're going to use it. So next we are going to start by creating the KPI cards like we've done earlier. So navigate back to the report we want to create now. We'll start by creating these KPI cards for total sales, total quantity, total profit, and total revenue loss. So let's navigate back to our report. I wanted this video to be shorter compared to the part 1 video. So I already have the DAX measure written out already. So if you come to the measures, that's our DAX measures. Great. So first, I have a measure for total sales here already. It's a very simple measure. This is the measure for the total sales. It's just total sales, sum, fact, order sales. We're summing the sales column. This is the measure for the total sales. So I'm going to replace this card visual here for total customers with the measure for total sales. So I'll uncheck the total customers. I'll replace that with total sales. Now I'm going to come to format visual, general. The title is no longer customers, rather sales. The next thing I'm going to do, I'll stay on the visual, I'll come to the colored value, I'll change this to the total sales. I'll scroll down. I want this to be in millions. Then I want the decimal places to be at least 1 decimal place. Great. Next, we need to take for the total quantity. See, here's the measure for the total quantity. It's also a simple measure. Total quantity measure, sum, fact orders, the quantity. A very simple measure using the sum function. Next, I'm going to replace the next card visual now, which is the orders. I'll uncheck this and replace it with total quantity. I'll do similar. I'll come to format visual, general. The title is no longer total orders, rather total quantity. Total quantity. I'll go to the visual, call out value. I'll change this to total quantity. I'll scroll down. I want this to be in 1,000. Then I want the decimal places to be at least one decimal place. That's fine. Then next we have the total profit. I also have a measure for the total profit here already. It's a very simple measure. So for the total profit, first I needed to create a column, a calculated column called profit or loss. So navigate to table view now. In our fact orders table, these are our fact orders table. I created a new column called profit or loss. That's because when I inspected the data on the profit column, this is the profit column. If you check, there are some negative values, which means there were orders that profit weren't made. So what I did to separate these orders from the orders from which profit was made, I had to create a calculated column by simply saying if the profit is less than 0, that means it's a loss. If it's greater than 1, which is greater than 0, that means they made profit for that order. So with that, I have a new column here called profit or loss. It's just a simple column, a simple measure, a simple function using the if function just to calculate if that order there was profit or profit was made from that order or it was a loss. So with that, we can then go ahead to calculate total profit. So using this DAX measure now, which is the total profit, calculates, of course, you can add a filter context to this now, filter it by where the profit or loss column is actually profits, since we are having negative values which indicates loss was made by that for that order. So now I have the calculate function here, then the sum, we're summing the profit, then we'll filter by where the profit or loss is actually profit. That will give us our total profit. So we can replace that with this card visual, the third card visual, that's the average delivery days. I will check the average delivery days. I'll replace that with total profit. I'll come to format visual as usual, general, title. I'll rename this total profit. Total profits. Fine. I'll go to the visual once more, call out value. I'll change the series to total profit. I'll scroll down, display units. I want this to display in 1,000 and I want the decimal places to be at least 1. So that's great. Then finally, we have the revenue loss. Remember that we have a calculated column already, profit or loss. Then we filter by profit to give us the profit. Then when we filter by loss, that should give us the revenue loss. So I have the measure here already. That's the total loss is actually similar to the profit with just the filter context automatically is to loss rather than profit. So once I have this done, I'll replace this return rate now. That's the return rate we have here. I'll replace it now with that total loss. But rather, I'll come to format, general, title. I'll say revenue loss. Revenue loss. I'll go back to the visual, call out value. I'll change this to total loss. I'll scroll down. I want the units to be in 1,000. Then I want the decimal places to be at least 1. Great. So with this, we've created the card visuals. I'll simply reduce the size once more. We've created the card visuals. But if you navigate back to our reports, underneath our card visuals, we're having the percentage change compared to the previous month, percentage change compared to the previous year for the total sales, the quantity, and the profit. So let's go ahead and create the measures to calculate these percentage changes we have here. So I will navigate back to our reports now. Like I said, I wanted this video to be shorter, so I already have these measures created. So I'm going to walk you through. It's a very simple process, not complicated at all. First, I'm going to click on this and bring it down a little. Now, the first thing we need to do, we're going to start with the total sales. We want to calculate the sales based on previous months. So when we filter our data on a particular month, we compare the sales value based on the previous month. We want to get the percentage change. We also want to get the percentage change based on the previous year, which means if you change the year from probably 2014 and you select 2015, you should be able to compare the percentage change in sales compared to the previous year, which is 2014. So the first thing we need to do is to actually create a measure to calculate this. So if I expand this now, I actually follow the particular naming convention. So for the sales, the first thing we need to do, remember we want to calculate the sales based on the previous month, the percentage change based on the previous month and the previous year. So the first measure I created is actually to calculate the sales variance based on the previous month. That's the month-on-month percentage change. This is the sales variance. I labeled it sales variance. So this is the sales variance, and I'm using this M here to indicate that it's actually months. And it's a very simple measure. You're using the calculate function, the sum of the sales, using the dated add to go back your calendar by 1 month. Then, of course, another variable here, which is the total sales. We already have the measure for total sales already, just simply replacing this measure, which is total sales. So you have to be careful with your naming convention. That's the total sales measure. This variable is holding the total sales, right? This variable here is holding previous month sales. This is previous month sales variable, and we have the calculate dated add, of course, going back 1 month. And finally, we're returning the percentage change. So this is the measure. This is the first measure I created. That's the sales variance for the month. Remember, we're talking about the month and the year, which means we need to also calculate the sales variance for the year. So I have another measure here. This is the measure to calculate the sales variance for the year. That's sales variance year, the Y indicating the year, and of course the percent. It's also similar to what we have when you talk about the months, but the only thing I did here was, instead of using the dated add year, I used same period last year. I can't remember why I did this, but I just used same period last year. If you're wondering, same period last year, dated add, parallel same period last year, they're almost similar. I have something on that on my LinkedIn. This is same period last year, dated add, yeah, parallel period. So they almost give you the similar result. It depends on what you want. They're just very tiny difference between these 3 functions. So we'll navigate back to our report now. So this is for the sales variance for the year. The first thing we did was calculate the sales variance for the month. Now we're calculating the sales variance for the year, which I've also done. It's a similar code. Then the next thing we need to do was, if you check our report, I have indicators here. First, I have an arrow going up to show there was an increase, then an arrow coming down to show there was a decrease. Then I also have the color to tell if there was an increase or there was a decrease. Then of course there's a small label, PM meaning previous month, while PY meaning previous year. So now we need to create this indicator. We're creating this indicator from our percentage change we already calculated. So we need to create an indicator for month and an indicator for year. So you can see my naming convention. I have the sales month indicator, sales indicator month. This is sales indicator month. So it's a very simple code. There's a variable X which holds the sales variance already, which we've calculated already. The sales variance for the month. Then I'm just using the unique character here, the arrow up, arrow down to tell if the sales is less than, of course, greater than 0, unique character. If it's less than 0, return this character, which is the arrow up, arrow down. Then of course this is a label versus previous month. So this is the sales indicator for the month. Then we also have something similar, but for the year. So the only difference is just the X here, the variable X here. Instead of having the sales variance for the month, it's going to have the sales variance for the year. So I have another measure here called sales indicator Y. It's a sales indicator Y. It's a similar measure to what we have already, but instead of having a month, it's now having year, and we're using the sales variance here. So that's just the difference. Nothing much, similar code. So once we've done that, which means we can then visualize this now using the card visual. So one thing you need to notice with the new card visual, you can actually visualize this in a better way. With the new card visual, we can represent this information in a better way, while you have the total value, then these values for the previous month and the previous year, they are going to be in our reference label. I'm going to be creating a video to cover that, but for now, let's just stick to what we have here. So I'll navigate back to the reports now. Great. So next thing I'm going to do is pick the card visual. Now we are going to be visualizing the sales indicator for the month and sales indicator for the year. So I'll click on the sales indicator for the month. This is for the month. I'm going to go to formats. I'll reduce the color value from 45, let's say 14. Great. I'll turn off the category label, we don't need that. So this is it. I'm going to take this to the middle a bit. So this is the sales indicator for the month. Now we are having the arrow down. That's because we've not selected, we've not made any filtering using our slicer. That's the year or month slicer. On this slicer now, okay, we only have the year. So we need to add the month to this our slicer. So I'll select the year slicer. I'll come down to our calendar. I'll scroll down the calendar. I'll add the month name to the calendar. So now when you check, you can filter by the year and also filter by the months. So that's taken care of. Now for this, we have one more thing to do. The indicator, the arrow is either going up or down if it's less than 0, down if it's greater than 0, up. We also want the color change. That's a conditional formatting where if it's less than 0, it should be red. If it's greater than 0, it should be green. So I'll come to format, the colored value. Then for the color, I'll click on the conditional formatting here. Of course, I want it by rules, but now I don't want it by the sales indicator measure. I want it by the sales variance. That's the sales variance month. Sales variance month percent. That's what I want. Sales variance month percent. I want the sales variance month percent when it is less than 0, it should be red. If it's greater than 0, which is 1 or 2, it should be green. So with this, I'll say, okay, it's okay. And I'll change this color. I want it to be red. Red. I want this to be red. Any color, just pick any color, make sure it's red. Now I'll add a new rule. This will automatically be 0, and I want when it is max, then I want this to be green. So I'll just pick a green color and click on OK. Great. So now I'll make a copy of this. I'll just make a copy of this. I don't want to waste much time. I'll make a copy of this and paste it. I'll replace this now with, instead of the sales indicator month, I'll uncheck that. Now I want the sales indicator year. I'll check the year. Great. So I have for the previous month and the previous year. But I'm going to do one more thing. For the sales indicator year now, I'll go back to the format, colored value, the conditional formatting now. I'm going to change it. It's now sales variance month. Now I have to change this to year because this is for the month, so I'll change this to year. Sales variance, that's year percent. Sales variance year. So the color change and the indicator should be using the sales variance year to actually go up or down. So that is done. So now if we filter our data by the previous year, you can see the changes already. So I'm quickly going to take this and drop it here. I'm going to take this and drop it here. So with the new card visual, you don't need to do all this. You just need to add these now as reference labels. I'm going to do a video on that also. So I'll click on this. I'll come to format, general, properties, not properties, effects. I'll turn off the background. Take the second one. I'll also turn off the background. So I'll just make this closer a bit. That's fine. So it's just a simple arrangement and we're good. So that's for the previous month, previous year. So we've done this for the sales. We just need to replicate this for the total quantity and the total profits. So it's still the same thing you need to do. The first thing you need to do is have a measure that calculates the year on year. There is a month on month change for profits or quantity. Now let's start with quantity. So for quantity, I have it here already. First, quantity variance month percent. This is quantity variance month percent. It's actually a similar measure to what we have already for the sales. It's just changing the sales to quantity in this case. So quantity variance for the month. This is a variable, previous month quantity. This is another variable, total quantity. We already calculated the total quantity before now. Then of course, division, and you return the percentage change. That's the variance. Then this is for the month. Then you also need to calculate the quantity variance for the year. This is the quantity variance for the year using same code, basically repeating the same thing. So previous year quantity, the variable holds the previous year quantity, then the total quantity, and of course the year-on-year quantity variance. Remember, when you're done calculating the two variance, which is the month variance and the year variance, which means you have to go ahead to create another measure to calculate the quantity indicator for the month and quantity indicator for the year. So I have the quantity indicator for the month here. It's a similar code, similar measure, like what we have for the sales. Is similar, same principle. Rather than have sales year, we're now having the quantity month variance. So you do the same thing for the year, similar code, similar measure. Rather than have the month, you're now having the year. So once we're done creating these four measures, you can see my naming convention. I'm using quantity indicator month, quantity indicator year, quantity variance month, quantity variance year. So I'll have all of them. So I can easily group my measure much more later if I want to. So once I'm done with this, what I'm going to do next is simply make a copy of this or this, any of them. I'll make a copy, paste it. I'll take it here. I'll make another copy. I'll take it here. So this is going to be for my previous month quantity. So I will uncheck this now from sales indicator month to quantity indicator month. Then for this, I will uncheck this from sales indicator month now to quantity indicator year. Remember, we're using the indicator. Great. You're not seeing any changes now because we've not done any filtering. So the final thing we need to do for the previous month quantity, I'll come to the format now, call add value. Remember our conditional formatting. We have to change it based on the rule now needs to change, not sales variance month anymore. You can guess what is it going to be. It's now going to be quantity variance month. That's quantity variance month. The reason I'm actually copying and pasting is because I don't need to be writing this whole code all over. It's already programmed, so same thing. Then finally, we come to the previous year. What do we need to do here now? Also need to come to the call add value, the function. The rule is no longer going to be based on sales, rather it's going to be based on quantity variance year. That's fine. Click on OK. So now if you filter previous year, so you have the quantity, previous month, previous year, sales, previous month, previous year. That's great. So finally, we need to do the same thing for profits. We need to replicate everything we've done now for profits. We need to replicate everything we've done now for profits. So you can think, where do we start from? That means we need to create profits, month variance, profit year variance, then the profit month indicator, profit year indicator. Those are the four measures we need to create. So first, you start by creating the profit month variance, which is similar to what we have before now. It's a similar code to what we've been using. This is the profit month variance. The only difference here is I know you can actually use the total profit here. Rather than writing the entire code, you can use the total profit here. So this is the profit month variance. Next, you need to do the profit year variance. This is the profit year variance. Now, you can replace this entire code with total profit, where total profit is equal to profit, remember. So this is the profit year variance, year-on-year profit. Then, what do you need to do next? Indicator, which is the profit year indicator. This is the profit year indicator. And finally, the profit month indicator. Remember, they are just similar code with just tiny changes. With that now, we can actually just click on paste to grab this once more. I'll just place this right here. I'll paste it one more time to have one for my previous year. Paste it right here. Remember, with the new card visual, you can actually have reference labels and you don't need to do all this. So first, we're going to replace this with our previous month profit. So I want to check this. That's the previous month indicator now. That's the profit indicator month. Profit indicator month, following our convention. Then this will be profit indicator year. I want to check this and see profit indicator year. Finally, we need to change our rule. Remember, format, call-out value, conditional formatting. This is the rule is no longer going to be based on this, rather it's going to be based on profit variance month. This is for the profit variance month. Yes, profit variance month. Remember, it's not the indicator, it's the variance, profit variance month. Then the next one is going to be for profit variance year. That's the profit variance year. Profit variance year, not indicator. Remember, profit variance year. And click on OK. So with this, we're done with the card visual. If you come now and select, let's say 2015, you should see the changes. 2016, you also should see the changes. Then 2017, see the changes. You can also go down to select the month also. Okay, with this, I think we're done with the card visuals. Let's quickly compare to what we have here. Okay, great, it's similar. This is actually filtered to 2015, so that's why. So it's similar. The only thing I have here is just the symbol I added there. It's nothing much. So you can just come here and come to insert, shape, pick a rectangle, reduce the size, just drop it here. Next thing I want to do is just change the color. Change the color. Let me just take it a little. Okay. It's fine. I'll change the color from this blue to probably ash. I don't want to bother. That's it. It's as simple as that. So I'll just make a copy of this now. Home, copy, paste. I'll take that, place it here. I'll paste it one more time. I'll take it and place it here. So with that, we're done with our card visual. We can easily just save this. With that, we're done with the card visual. So we proceed to, let's view. So we have a measure already for our profits. So what we need to do is just visualize our profit based on the product category, the segment, and the customer. So that will tell us the category that generates the most profit, customer segment that generates the most profit, then customer from which the most profit was made. So these are the three visual we need to create now. So let's navigate back to our report. We're going to be using this. Remember, I didn't delete this. That's the reason I actually kept this. So I'm just going to increase the size. I want to check the ship mode now. We don't need the ship mode. What we want is actually navigate to the product table and category. Select the category. Then also for the measure, we don't want the return rate. What we want is the total profit. We already have a measure that holds the total profit here. This is the total profit. Great. So finally, we'll navigate to format visual, general, title. We'll name this to which category generates most profits. That is settled. We already know this is actually the technology, so technology category. So finally, what I'm going to do is come to format. I'll scroll down, come to the bars. I'll leave it at all, but I'll change this to, I'll pick the technology and change the color to our color code. This is just to highlight that the technology, to answer the question, the technology category generates the most profit. So one thing I'm going to do is go to general once more, title. I'll just centralize this title. Great. Then finally, I'll leave the title, go to effects, visual border, turn it on. I'll change the color to our color code. So that's fine. This is it. So I'm going to make a copy of this now. Just copy this, paste. I'll paste it here. The next is which segment. So it's just for us to uncheck category and scroll down to customers and check segments. Great. Then go to format. The bars, I want the consumer segment to be our color code. So I'll scroll down a bit. Consumer segment, take this. Great. Finally, I want the data labels. I'll scroll down. I want the values. I'll scroll down. The units, display units, I want it to be none. No. I want it to be 1000. Okay. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine by me. We can actually also do something and say it should be outside end. Great. We can do the same for this and say it should be outside end. Great. So finally, we need to rename this. We're not talking about category anymore. We're talking about segments. So title, general, title, which segments? This should be segments now, not category anymore. Segments. Segments. Great. So that is settled. I'm going to make one more copy. I'm going to copy this once more. Oh, it's already copied, so I'll just click on paste. Great. The last one should talk about the customer from which most profit was made. So I'll just uncheck the category here and go to select the customer. So customer name in this case. But we only want the top 5 customers. So I'll expand our filters pane. Customer name, I'll expand this. Basic filtering, I'll change it to top N. I want the top 5. I'll click and drag our total profits. Based on the total profit, I'll apply this filter. So this will give us the top 5 customers from which the profit was made. So Finally, we go to formats. That's format now. The bars, we just change. Okay, for all, I want to leave it at all and change the color to this. That's fine. Then finally, we can say it's no longer which category, it's which customer now, not category anymore. Generate most profits. Okay, that's fine. So this automatically takes care of the three card, three not card visuals now, the three visuals we have here. Which top 5 customers made the most profit? Okay, yeah. So we can actually replace our label. Let's give it the title, a befitting title, which top 5 customers. That's fine. So we have this figured out and it's okay. We're good. So finally, I think we need to reduce the size for this. Let me check. So come to format, general properties. This is 260. Let's make this 260. And let's make this 400 and see the size. Okay, I think I would want to increase the size a bit. So okay, 284 400. This is 284 400. Nope. So I need to increase the size. I need to increase the size for this also. I'm doing this because of the labels. I don't want the labels to fall short. So what is the size for this now? 3027. Let's make this 475. Let's say 305. So everything should be 475, 305, 305, 475. It should be 305, then 475. Great. So finally, what I'll do is just click on this, hold down my control, select this, come to format, align, distribute horizontally. Great. So we have the three visuals up there already. Next, let's go back to the report we're trying to create. Okay, this is actually a breakdown of the products by the different category. So office supplies, the number of products, and all that. I think this is not actually the best visual for this, but let's just stick to this for now, or we can actually change it. So what we'll do now is navigate back to our report. Let's just paste because we have a copy of this visual already here. Bring this and drop it down here. So we need a measure to calculate the total product we have. Do we have that? I'm not sure we have any measure to calculate the total product we have. So we'll click here, new measure. So this measure should calculate the total product we have, total products. We actually have a product table, so it should be a count. We're going to be counting the product dimension. So dim products, we're going to be counting the ID, product ID. So dimension product counts the ID, the product ID to give us the total number of products. That's what good to go. So we can go ahead and replace this now. Instead of having total profits, We uncheck total profit and replace it with total product. Great. So these are the product. This is the product distribution by the different categories. So we come to the format now, bars. For all, we just change this to this, and we are good. Come to general title. We can then say product distribution by the different category. Product distribution by category. Okay, great. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 visuals covered already. So finally, the 2 tables I have here to actually calculate the efficiency. So the question was which city or state, let me zoom. So basically the question that was asked was which city or state had the best retail supply chain management. Ideally, I thought about it. I just can't say because a city generates most of the profits. Let's say when we visualize the profit we made by the different city, we can't say because we're making much more money from, let's say, Kansas, that means they have the best retail supply chain. So I felt, okay, good. We have 3 factors that will actually determine how efficient is the supply chain system of that particular state or city. And those determinant factors are the average delivery. Now we have an average delivery already. So we're saying the 3 factors should be average delivery, the return rate, and the profits. So for this average delivery, the return rate, and the profits, we have a target, which is more like a threshold that you should fulfill for us to say, okay, good. In terms of average delivery, the city of Maine is actually doing well, or the state of Maine is actually doing well, or the state of Florida is actually doing well. There is a threshold. If you fall below that threshold, that means you're not doing well when it comes to average delivery. Then for return rate, if you have return rate greater than 0, which means you're not doing well in terms of return rate. But if it's less than 0 or if it's 0, that means you're doing great. So basically what I did, I identified the 3 factors that will make up that will determine the efficiency of the supply chain system in that state or city. Then assign the target. So here, this is the determinant factor, average delivery, return rate, and of course profits. Those are the 3 factors. Then I went ahead to assign the target. For the average delivery, the target, which is the threshold, should be our calculated average delivery. We already have a measure of calculated average delivery already. So if your average delivery days is actually greater than the average we have, which means in terms of average delivery, you're not doing so well. So we also want your return rates to be 0, which means for that city, we don't have any product that are being returned. Your return rate should be 0. Then in terms of profit, we want a situation where your the profit that is being made from that state or city is at least greater than our average profits. So finally, I assign the weight to everything. What I mean by weight is more like assigning an order of priority. So I place more priority on the average delivery and I assign the weight of 50%. Next, I assigned a weight of 30% to the return rate, and I also assigned a weight of 20% to the profit, which means if you fulfill all this, if you exceed the threshold for average delivery, return rate, and profits, that means your efficiency should be 100%. If you fall short in any of them, you are either going to be having efficiency of either 80%, 50%, or 70%. So what did I do? I had to create a measure to work out this formula to do this thing for me. So first, threshold, which is the target, then the weight, then of course calculate the efficiency. So basically, what this whole thing here does is just to explain what I did. So I'm going to simply copy this. I don't want to have to type this anymore. I'll copy this now. I'll go to the report we want to are creating, and I'll simply just paste. Great. So basically, this is the explanation to what I did. It's nothing. It's not a visual or anything. It's just to offer explanation or insight to what I actually did and how I calculated the efficiency. So what I'm going to do is just go to properties, not properties now, effects. I'll turn on the border. So what did I do? Like I said, I've identified the three factors: average delivery, return rate, and profit. And I needed to assign a target. So here, if I expand the DAX measure, that's the measure table. So I'll scroll down to where I have the total weighted score. If I click on this, this is actually the measure that calculates the efficiency rate for a particular state or city. The first thing I said was create a variable profit target. We need to assign a target to our profit. In this case, we're assigning the average profit as the target. If you check this formula very well, I replace the sum with average. We're no longer using sum, rather we're using average, which means every city or state, the target profit should be greater than the average profit. So we have the average profit as our target. So to know if that city or state supply chain is efficient, their profit, the total profit for that city or state should be at least greater than our average profit, which is our target profit now. Then I proceeded to have a profit score. The profit score is simply having a variable for profit score to say if the total profit now, remember total profit in this case, we're referring to the city. If the total profit of that city or state is greater than the profit target, which is the average, assign the value 1, else it should be 0. Next, return rate. Return rate target is 0. We want every city or state should have a return rate target of 0, which means no order was returned for that state or city. Next, we have the return rate score, which simply say if the return rate is less than the return rate target, that means it's 1. If it's greater than the return rate target, that means it's 0. Remember the return rate here now, we're talking about the return rate for the state or city. Then finally, the delivery target, which is the average delivery days. Remember, we've already calculated this measure, average delivery days. So we're setting our delivery target to be average delivery days. Then we're saying if the delivery score, for the delivery score now, if the average delivery days for that state or city is less than the delivery target, which means it's going to be 0. That means it's 1. If it's greater than 0, which means 0. So finally, we're returning the score. What do I mean by we're returning the score? Remember, I assigned 50% to the average delivery, which is 0.5. So what we're saying is 0.5 times the delivery score plus 0.3 times the return rate plus 0.2 times the profit score. So it's going to add everything together to give you 100%. This simply means if a state or city has 100%, which means that state or city satisfied the 3 thresholds we've actually created. That's our average delivery threshold, our return rate threshold, and our profit threshold. So this is it. This is the DAX measure. I'm going to leave now. So what we need to do next is just to create a table. This is going to be a table. I'll change this to, let's say, a table. It can either be a matrix or just a table. Next, I'm going to select the city. So we'll go to our locations. I'll select the city or state. I'll select the state. Let's start with the state. Great. Next, I'll now select the total weight score. Great. Now we're having 0.70. What I'll do now is I'll stay on the measure. I'll change it to percent. I'll change it to percent here. Then I'll change the decimal places to 0. I'll make it 0. Great. So let me expand. Let me just zoom in so you can see it clearly. So you can actually see the states and this weighted score now. I think I want to rename this to efficiency. I'll rename that to efficiency. I'll select the table, name this weighted score to percentage efficiency. That's efficiency percentage efficiency. Great. Now, so we're having the state of Alabama 70%. Do you know what it means when Alabama is having 70%? Which means Alabama only satisfied 2 of our threshold. And we can easily identify that 2 and say, which means 50% coming from average delivery. That means average delivery days was satisfied, then profit was satisfied. This simply means the return rate wasn't satisfied. So the efficiency is 70%. Let's just sort this by efficiency. So for Arkansas, we have 100%, District of Columbia, 100%. That means these states, they satisfied the 3 threshold for the delivery, for the return rate, and the profits. Then we're having 80%, 70%, and that. So that's how I came up with the formula to actually determine the efficiency, which states or city had the best supply chain management system. So we can actually do same for the city. What I just did was make a copy of this table. Let's make a copy of this table. Make a copy of this table now. Place it here. Next, I'll replace the states with city. I'll swap this. So you can actually see the city that has the best retail. These cities, they actually satisfy the threshold. They are good. Let's see. Okay, now we're having cities that are satisfied. They're 80%. Let's see if we have any city that is 70%. Yeah, 70% and all. So for 80%, for 100%, that means they satisfy the 3 threshold for the delivery, return rate, and the profit. 80%, that means they satisfied at least 2 of the threshold. 70% is also 2 of the threshold. But if it's 70%, that means they satisfy the delivery threshold, which is 50%, and also the profit threshold, which is 20%, and the return rate threshold wasn't satisfied. That's why that state or city is actually having that 70% as their score. So that's basically it. That's basically everything I did for the entire report. So let's reduce. I'll zoom out now. Great. So we have a similar report compared to what I have already on this other side. Okay, so we need to do some formatting, just formatting to have exactly what I have here. We need to do some formatting to the report. What do we need to do? We don't need to do much. So let's go back to our reports. I believe you can actually do this on your own. Just come and reduce this now. Column headers and say the background, you want it to be this. And you want the text to be white. Also say this background, you want it to be this. You want the text to be white. Great. So finally, we can actually do one more thing by just increasing the size. I would search for global size font. As the global font size, I'll just say, let's make this 12. For these two, let's make it 12. Great. So and one thing I would love to do is to turn off the total values. We don't need that. So once I have this, I'll go to formats. For the totals, I'll turn the value off. I'll do same for this. I'll turn the value off. So I can click on this, increase the size, click on this, probably shift this, and scroll it up, scroll up. Okay, great. So we have a similar report compared to what I have already. Remember, I said something about the background coming from PowerPoint. That's why you're actually seeing the little difference between the two reports, but they're actually the same in the real sense now. I think we have a similar report. And with this, we've come to the end of the North America Retail Supply Chain Optimization Report.